When I moved into my new apartment, I noticed the mirror immediately. It wasn't like the other mirrors around the house, which were modern and sleek. This one was old, with a tarnished silver frame and a slightly warped glass. It hung in the hallway, right between my bedroom and the bathroom, its surface reflecting the dim light from the overhead fixture. The landlord mentioned nothing about it during the walkthrough, and honestly, I didn't think much of it either. I assumed it came with the apartment, probably too heavy or awkward for the previous tenant to take along. But from the first night, I sensed something was off. It started with little things, subtle enough to make me question my sanity. At first, I thought I heard faint whispers when I passed by. Nothing distinct, just a soft murmur, like the indistinct conversations you hear through walls. It was always late at night, when the house was dead silent. I shrugged it off, blaming my overactive imagination. One evening, as I brushed my teeth, I glanced at the mirror out of habit. My reflection looked back, but something about it seemed wrong. My face appeared normal at first glance, but there was a flicker in the reflection's eyes, as if it wasn't really me staring back. I froze, toothbrush halfway to my mouth, but when I blinked, everything was normal again. For a while, I avoided the mirror. It sounds ridiculous now, but I started feeling an intense discomfort whenever I walked past it. I even draped a towel over it once, just to see if it would help, but when I returned to the hallway later that night, the towel was crumpled on the floor. I didn't want to believe it, but part of me knew something was wrong with the mirror. Things escalated about a week later. I was lying in bed, teetering on the edge of sleep, when I heard it, clear, distinct, and unmistakable. A voice, low and guttural, coming from the hallway. "Come here," it whispered. I jolted awake, my heart racing. The apartment was dark, but I could see the faint glow from the hallway nightlight creeping under my bedroom door. I held my breath, listening, straining my ears for any sound. "Come here," it repeated, louder this time. It was coming from the mirror. I don't know why, but instead of hiding under the covers like a sane person, I found myself getting out of bed, pulled by a force I couldn't explain. My feet carried me to the door, my body moving as if it had a mind of its own. I stepped into the hallway. The mirror stood there, looming at the end of the narrow corridor. The reflection in it was wrong. My reflection wasn't me. It was smiling, grinning, actually, its lips stretched too wide, its eyes too bright. It stood perfectly still, but there was an energy to it, a malevolence I could feel crawling up my spine. The voice came again, but this time, it didn't come from the hallway. It came from the reflection. "Come closer." I shook my head, stepping back instinctively, but my reflection leaned forward, as if pressing itself against the glass. Its grin widened, stretching impossibly long across its face, teeth gleaming in the dim light. "Come closer," it repeated, the voice twisting, sounding both like mine and not like mine at the same time. My heart pounded in my chest, my throat dry. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. My feet felt glued to the floor. The reflection started moving, slowly at first. It raised its hand, waving it gently, beckoning me. Then it pressed its hand against the surface of the glass. I watched, horrified, as the mirror began to ripple, like water disturbed by a stone. The reflection's hand began to push through the surface, fingers curling around the edge of the frame. It was coming out. That was when I snapped out of it. I ran, slamming my bedroom door behind me, hard in my throat. I didn't sleep that night. I barely blinked, listening for any sound from the hallway. In the morning, I called a friend, begged them to come over, told them everything. Of course, they didn't believe me. But when they arrived, I noticed something strange. The mirror was gone. There was nothing there, just a blank patch of wall where it had once hung. My friend thought I had imagined the whole thing, that I was stressed, maybe sleep deprived. But I know what I saw. I know what I heard. The worst part? That night, I caught my reflection in the bathroom mirror as I was brushing my teeth. It looked normal, just my tired face staring back. But as I turned away, I could have sworn I saw a faint grin tugging at the corners of its mouth. I've been avoiding mirrors ever since. But no matter where I go, I always feel watched. I know it's still there, lurking, waiting. And one day, when I least expect it, I fear it will come back for me.